All right, today we're going to dive into one of the most basic, most powerful rules of life, how it makes more of itself. Yep, we're talking about reproduction, the biological engine that has kept every single species going for billions of years. So let's just start with a really big question. Think about it. Reproduction takes a ton of energy. It can be a massive drain on an individual organism. So why on earth does pretty much every living thing pour so much effort into it? What's the big payoff? Well, the answer is actually pretty straightforward. See, reproduction isn't really about keeping any single one of us alive. It's about making sure the entire species doesn't just vanish. It is the ultimate survival strategy for the long haul. Now, the secret ingredient making all of this possible, it's DNA. Just think of it like a biological blueprint. It has all the instructions needed to build an organism. But here's where it gets really cool. That blueprint isn't always copied perfectly. Little changes, these tiny variations sneak in. And those variations, that's the fuel for evolution. That's what allows a species to adapt and change over time. You know, when you boil it all down, whether you're a single cell or a super complex animal, reproduction comes down to these three basic steps. First, you've got to make a fresh copy of that DNA blueprint. Second, you duplicate all the essential machinery inside the cell. And finally, you just split it all up to form new cells. So simple, but so incredibly powerful. So organisms have basically evolved two major strategies to get this done. Let's jump into the first one, asexual reproduction. This one is all about making copies and doing it fast. The simplest method by far is something called fission. For single-celled organisms like this amoeba you see, one cell just splits into two. That's it. It's direct, it's super quick, and you get two almost identical individuals. Now, some organisms, like Leishmania, have a more organized way of splitting, but the principle is exactly the same. One becomes two. Next up, we've got fragmentation. You see this in organisms like Spirogyra here. The parent literally just breaks into pieces, and each one of those fragments can grow into a completely new organism. Talk about an efficient way to multiply. And then there's budding, which you can see here in things like Hydra. A little outgrowth, or a bud, starts to form on the parent. It's basically a little mini-me that grows and develops and then eventually just pops off to go live on its own. And get this, the copying party doesn't stop there. Some flatworms can regenerate an entire body from just a tiny slice. Plants can grow whole new individuals from just a piece of stem or a leaf. And fungi? They can release thousands of tiny spores, and each one can start a new life. It's basically a world of clones. Okay, so that's strategy one. Now let's switch gears and look at the other major game plan, which takes a totally different approach. This is sexual reproduction, and its superpower isn't speed, it's creating genetic variety. And that is an absolutely crucial tool for surviving in a world that's always changing. So here's the fundamental trade-off, right? Asexual reproduction is a one-parent show. It's fast, and it pumps out nearly identical copies. Sexual reproduction, on the other hand, needs two parents, and it's a lot slower. But, and this is a huge but, its key advantage is that it shuffles the genetic deck, creating brand new combinations every single time. And that variation is the key to adapting to new challenges, like a new disease or a changing climate. This amazing variety comes from fusing these specialized cells called gametes. You have the male gamete, or sperm, which is usually small and built for speed, and then you have the female gamete, the egg, which is big, stationary, and absolutely packed with nutrients to give a new life a head start. Two very different cells, but they have one shared goal. Okay, theory is great, but let's see how this actually works in the real world. We'll start with something you probably see every single day, flowering plants. So a flower is basically the plant's all-in-one reproductive hub. If you look at this diagram, you can see it's designed with male parts, that's the stamen, which makes pollen, and female parts, called the pistil, which holds the ovules. Those ovules, those are the future seeds. The whole process is this beautiful chain of events. First, you've got pollination, which is all about getting the pollen to the right spot. Then comes fertilization, when the male and female cells finally fuse. After that, the ovule becomes the seed, and the ovary around it swells up to become the fruit, which does a great job of protecting and helping to spread that seed around. All right, let's bring it a little closer to home now and take a look at how this second strategy, sexual reproduction, actually works in humans. Here on this slide, we can see the two systems side by side. The male reproductive system, its whole job is to produce and deliver sperm, which are made in the testes. And then you have the female reproductive system, which produces eggs in the ovaries and is designed to nurture a developing fetus inside the uterus.
So each month, an egg is released, and it has one of two possible fates. If it gets fertilized by a sperm, it travels and implants itself in the wall of the uterus, and this amazing organ called the placenta begins to form to nourish the embryo. Now, if the egg isn't fertilized, the lining of the uterus is shed, and that results in menstruation.
And of course, for humans, reproduction is about way more than just the biology. Reproductive health is such a critical piece of the whole picture. We're talking about everything from being mentally prepared to preventing diseases and making informed choices about things like contraception. So we've seen these two incredibly powerful strategies that life uses to keep going. One that's all about speed and making perfect copies, and another that's all about creating variation and being adaptable. It kind of leaves us with a final question to chew on. In a world that's changing faster than ever, which strategy holds the better cards for the future? And how might they continue to evolve? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.